Every time you find yourself here, it's because you chose to come back.
Nothing is what they say. I used to think it would take a monster to put someone in a place like that office.
That's the DNA of the show. It's related to the MDR desk. It's related to a lot of other things.
I give consent to sever my memories between my work life and my personal life.
You know, I imagine there was a severed set decorator working for Lumon, and this is what they came up with.
If you want to know what's going on down there, you'll find the beginning of a very long answer.
Welcome to the Film and Furniture podcast, where we delve into the creative minds behind the worlds we see on screen, the sets, the rooms, the furniture, and the stories they tell. I'm Paula Benson, founder and editor of Film and Furniture, and today we step inside the brilliantly unnerving world of Severance with Season 2 set decorator David Schlesinger, fresh from the show's Emmy win for production design. Severance has become way more than a TV series. It sparked a cult following for its addictive plot and a visual world built from a blend of mid-century modernism, brutalist weight, and retro-futuristic corporate sheen. From Warren Platner's desk, which David defines as the DNA of the show, to Dieter Rams' modular systems, Joe Colombo's space-age futurism, and even the ornaments on Mark and Gemma's Christmas tree, the furniture and design tell as much of the story as the characters themselves. This podcast works just as well with our visuals, but just so you know, it's a video podcast, so you can watch along for the full experience. This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Holloways of Ludlow. So welcome, David Schlesinger, to the Film and Furniture podcast. Now, you are an amazing set decorator. You've worked on some incredible projects, David, from John Wick and one of our favourites, Severance, and you've also been working on an upcoming project, House of Dynamite, I understand. What else have you worked on that's in your top hit list?
Oh, wow. I've been around forever. Knives Out was a big one.
Of course.
I did John Wick 2 and 3. Going way back, I did the movie Flipper. I did John Carpenter's Vampires, lots of television shows. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Indeed. And I wanted to congratulate you and the production design team on your Emmy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was amazing because, Jeremy Hindle, the production designer, Chris Shriver, supervising art director, and Ann Bartek, all really good friends. I've known Chris longer than I've known my wife, and I've known Jeremy for a long time, and we're really good friends. So it was great to be part of to do that, have that experience with them, and I think that's one of the reasons why Severance has such a great look is because the way we work together. There's a real shorthand. There's a lot of trust. There's not a lot of ego. Jeremy Hindle, the production designer, I got to say, just shout out to him, how brilliant he is. Really love working with him. And he did House of Dynamite as well.
So you came into Severance in season 2. And it's such an amazing TV series. I mean, not just with the incredible storytelling, of course, but these sets that you created with Jeremy Hindle are just so otherworldly. I mean, talk about world building. It's built a whole world of its own, and it's become such a cult, even from the green carpets, the colorways, the furniture, typefaces even. People have gone out there to create their own. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? The response to the design and the merchandise and the copying. Is that something that you thought was going to happen from day one when you were involved, or was it a complete surprise?
It was a surprise. I mean, season 1 had a pretty loyal fan base, but it expanded dramatically with season 2. So from season 1, we knew how much detail people paid attention to, and we did talk about that a little bit. Like, people see these details. Like everything. I always say on every project, everything is a choice. But in Severance, it's even more so because everything is seen and everything is analyzed. So, but as far as the response, no, it was a surprise for sure. I love it. It's fantastic. I love talking about the design of the show.
So, starting with the building itself, obviously, this was already featured in season one, the Bell Building by
Hmm.
Saarinen and Roche.
Hmm.
Did you go to
Hmm.
this building? Did you do any filming for season two there? Or was it all?
Oh, lots,
Yeah.
lots. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit, I mean, a lot about that building because Jeremy reached out to me for season one and I wasn't available, but we're friends, so we talked a lot about stuff. And we were talking about the John Deere building, which was also designed by Saarinen and Kevin Rich, and that was a big influence for the look of the show. And Warren Platner designed the interiors for that building, and one of those things was a desk, which became an inspiration for the MDR desk with the center pedestal and cantilevered desktop. And so for me, I really wanted to expand on that with season two. I wanted to repeat these forms and see them as often as possible. And I discovered that Kevin Roach, not Saarinen, because Saarinen had passed away at this point, but Kevin Roach had designed the Ford Foundation building here in New York. And so I was able to arrange a tour, and Jeremy and I went to it, and it was really inspirational. And there was a through line of design, and Plattner had done that interior as well. So this furniture was everywhere, the lighting fixture. So it's just these repeated forms, which we then brought into season two in a bigger way. And I talk a lot about the Warren Platner desk, and it's funny, I get many emails about many things, but nobody ever asked me about that desk. And in Milchek's office, his new desk, which was designed by Warren Platner. And to me, that's the DNA of the show, or the interiors of the show. Just the form of that desk. And, again, it's related to the MDR desk. It's related to a lot of other things we do.
So, I mean, there's some incredible mid-century classics in the whole of season two, like the Warren Platner desk and the management office that you mentioned there. But then there's this interesting combination, and you must have had great fun designing the testing floor for season two.
Oh, it was so much fun.
All these rooms that sort of feel, again, otherworldly. You're not entirely sure what time well, I'm certainly not. I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there are more sure than I am, but you're not
Yeah.
sure when it's set. But there's lots of
W-
mid-century references with other
Yeah.
more contemporary pieces. There's Italian design, there's retro-futuristic design. There's some classics in there. Could you talk to us about that, sort of how you balanced the different periods and the different styles, although there's obviously one overarching look?
In the very first episode of season one, Adam Scott, so Mark says, who are you? And so I'm expanding on that. It's like, where are you? Like we don't want the audience to know where they are. Like we play around with time a lot. We don't really want to say we're in this particular time or place. So that's a big part of our thinking. I mean, I guess mid-century becomes dominant in a way because of the Bell Labs. And we just naturally tend toward the design of that period, the stripped down, like Dieter Rams is a huge influence on us. Just to strip down, less is better point of view, because we really strip down all our interiors to the bare minimum. You can look at certain sets and there's about maybe 10 things in the room or 8 things in the room. And we don't want a lot of clutter in the severed world. In the outie world, it gets a little different. And it's finding objects that we love. We also fabricate a huge amount of our set dressing, and we alter a huge amount of our set dressing because we want things to be familiar, but you don't know where they're from. Like, we don't want anything iconic. I really try to avoid things that have been seen or well seen before. That's why we make a lot of stuff. I mean, even the Dieter Rams stereo is before the show, it wasn't really that well known of an object. I mean, I think I had seen it one other time. So yeah, more instinctual.
Yeah, I actually managed to acquire a Dieter Ram stereo that's
Oh,
called, I think it's called Snow White's Coffin. And it was a really interesting story, actually, is that I was kind of, whenever you're doing research for set design, you end up down some very interesting rabbit holes.
yeah.
And I sort of put word out. I actually wanted to buy one for my partner's birthday. And someone reached out to me and said, I've got a Snow White's coffin, Dieter Rams. It was given to me once my friend passed away. It came to me. And she said, so I don't want any money for it, but will you promise you'll cherish it? I was like,
Oh, amazing. Yeah. We might have used that one, or it's very quick, but we used one in the Christmas room.
ah,
and it's a really quick shot, but and then that might have been it, or you can see, I think she's putting on the radio, and you see the radio on the front of it. So we had quite a few uh Dieter Rams pieces floating around. In the Gemma testing suite, she
Yeah.
looks at it, she turns on a sun lamp at one point, and that was a Dieter Rams designed piece.
So it's a bit of a sort of Alice in Wonderland kind of an environment in a very clinical way. The testing floor as Gemma goes in and out of all these different rooms. So that must have been great fun, sort of creating a slightly different atmosphere, but still part of the whole for each room, like the dentist's room.
Yeah, the dentist's office, the Christmas room. I mean, those were so much. The Christmas room was so much fun, and the idea, our idea, and the airplane. I love the airplane. That's maybe my one of my favorite sets. These were basically if Lumen created a set. Like, I imagine there was a set decorator, a severed set decorator working for Lumen, and this is what they came up with. So facsimiles of real spaces, but not, we were never really concerned with making it feel like a full real space. And in like the Christmas room, we always wanted the sense of artificialness. Like the tree is artificial, of course. All the ornaments are 3D printed, and then we see it later. Well, in the story, it's actually earlier in Mark and Gemma's house. Their tree is real, and the ornaments on the tree are the same ornaments, but we 3D scan. They're real ornaments, and we 3D scanned those. So we wanted to give the sense that Lumen is involved. They were involved in their lives early on. They've been looking at these people, and they just want to create havoc in people's lives.
Yeah, yeah. And there's
Yeah.
Dieter Rams in that Christmas room.
Well, there's a TV, the
Yeah.
FSAD TV, yeah. So everything I do, I start with research. The picture on the left, obviously, is for the Christmas room. That's a
Wow.
Diane Arbus photo.
Oh,
And
oh, wow.
yeah, that image is so telling, and was so helpful for what we ended up creating.
I love that it's Diane Arbus as well.
Yeah. Well, my favorite part of it is and we did this on our set, is the tree doesn't fit. It's hitting the top of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Uh, and the tinsel, like we used real tinsel, which became a really big problem with the studio. Not problem, but they gave us all kinds of safety protocols, which is good. I mean, they should, but tinsel is real lead, and so we had to wear gloves when we handled it, and we put safety signs up, and there we are dressing the tree. I wish it was taller. I wish it hit the ceiling more, but
And then I was interested in this interesting juxtaposition, but it works so beautifully with the Joe Colombo, sort of more space age futurist items like the universal chair, which Gemma uses as a weapon at one point
yeah.
in season 2. Do you just have like a mood board of all the things you'd love in an ideal world and then have to try and source them, or is it a bit more organic than
No,
that?
it's a little more organic. I mean, what I'll do is, I mean, early, every job, every project I do, whether Severance or Knives Out, or which are the antithesis of each other, I
Mm.
start with a lot of research, and then looking at a lot of photographs or old movies or paintings, or it could come from any sources. And then I start shopping or looking at objects. I'll just go out, and I'll go to I'll go to favorite sources, and I'll just wander around, and I'll just start taking photographs. And as I'm doing that, ideas come. It kind of starts coming together. Like I have this base of research, then I'm shopping, and as I'm looking at things start to make sense, and they come together. And then I take all those photos, and I kind of whittle them down, and we make our choices. The Colombo chair, what I liked about it, and what drew me to it, was everything in that room is modular. Like it could be reassembled into a different configuration for another quote set that Lumen was putting together. We fabricated the sofa and the chair and her bed. Well, they're made out of 3D components, and the idea is that you could configure them in different ways. And so that chair is a prototype Colombo chair, and it is also modular. The legs come off, so you can make it different sizes. So that's what appealed to me, and I liked that it was a hard plastic. So we're not super strict about it, but in the back of our heads, we think that everything was made by optics and design, and so anything that looks like it could have been 3D printed, we respond to. So I think that's what made the chair so appealing. Yeah, I mean, we needed a chair that she could pick up, but that was also hard enough that could do damage. So it checked a lot of boxes. I mean, the same thing with the Mark Newsom chairs in the break room. We reused those and a couple other sets. I try to reuse things because it's a corporate environment, and in the corporate world, you have the same folding chair or you have the same, whatever it is. So as much as I could reuse something, we did, which is something you don't do often on a set film. Like, oh, you can't reuse that. We've already seen it. So
Yeah.
we really wanted to build that idea of and we same thing with the Platner desk. The same shape appears other places.
Yeah, so you must have had to, really get inside the heads of what a lumen decorator might be.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
did you feel you were going a little bit mad in this process, trying to put your head inside the head of someone who's a little bit evil and controlling?
No, yeah, it's like method set dressing, right?
Yeah,
No, it didn't feel
yeah.
that way. I hope this person was made more money than I did. Even probably it's not that well paying, but I would like to meet this person, the severed set decorator,
Yeah, yeah.
the Lumen set decorator.
Before we return to my conversation with David Schlesinger, a reminder that many of the furniture and lighting pieces we've been talking about can be found in the real world, such as many pieces from Lumen's World, like the Joe Colombo coupe wall light, Mark Newson's stunning Nimrod chairs, and Charles and Ray Eames' Time Life Executive Chair from the management office. And from the outie world, Hans Wegner's Shell Chair, which is seen in Devon and Ricken's home, or their Noguchi Akari lamps, and Paul Henningson's PH table lamp, and many more, are available to buy for your own home from our partners for this episode, Holloways of Ludlow, who also support our online feature. With a beautiful online website store and showrooms in London, Bath, and Winchester, they believe, as we do at Film and Furniture, that good design should be beautiful, functional, and long-lasting. You can browse the Severance collection in our marketplace at filmandfurniture.com. You'll find the link in the show description below. And then we've got some, very different rooms still in Lumen, like the boardroom, for example. I mean, that's so stunning. There's this beautiful, shiny, amazing table and hundreds of honey apple chairs. Could you
Well,
talk?
not hundreds, but that room is actually in Bell Labs. It's a raw space. We went into a raw room, concrete floor, no ceiling, and built the set within that space. I saw that set early on with Jeremy. We walked in that room, and he's like, I think it was going to be a lot bigger, but he's like, yeah, we need like a 50-foot table, and so my mind immediately I start thinking about, okay, how what is that going to be? What is it going to look like? How we're going to do that. And I knew I didn't want a wood table. I didn't want something traditional. I started thinking about materials, and I started thinking we'll probably have to build it. And so we just started looking at a lot of different materials, and I wanted something that was just kind of otherworldly and interacted with light in a weird way. And we started looking at resin furniture. I think one of our assistant decorators, well, in that case, it was just Janelle Marie is one of our we have several assistant decorators. I think she brought resin samples, and like that's it. That's incredible. So and it was also material we could control the color. So we had total control over it. And so we fabricated the table. I originally wanted to make it as one piece. We were gonna pour the mold in the room, but for a lot of reasons we couldn't do it. And environmental, there was no way to really vent it. And then what do you do with a 40-foot table? It's kind of hard to move on set. So we found a resin artist in New York, a guy named Quincy Ellis. It is really beautiful furniture, and we worked with him, and he fabricated the top. And then the bases, which you don't see, are actually the same base as the Warren Platner desk. We had those fabricated. And the other things in that room, the lights above the table, which again, you don't see them that much, but they are from a design. We fabricate. So we put in the ceiling, we put in the lights, put everything everything in that room is fabricated. But the lights are from something we were inspired by it from the Ford Foundation. And it's a light we use over and over. We use it in the locker rooms. We use it in the dentist's office. You don't notice it, but it's there, and it's just this repeated form. And hopefully in the back of the viewer's head, it's connecting all these spaces. And then the Apple Honey chairs are just they're perfect. I mean, they couldn't be more perfect. And we just got really lucky. We bought several large sets at auctions, and then we bought one or two here or there. I mean, the great thing about Severance, from a set decorator's point of view, is we often have time. We had a good bit of time on that set, so we had time to fabricate things and to find things. And sometimes on a job you have a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
I don't remember how much time we had, but we probably had a few months,
I must
which
have.
is still not a lot of time, but enough time to do what we need to do.
Yeah, I must admit, I was asked the other day, I was giving a talk about sharing all the knowledge that set decorators and production designers have shared with me. And I was asked, what's the biggest challenge? And I said, time. So I'm really surprised that you said, what was the pre-production period? How long was it on Severance too?
Can't remember.
A matter of
I
months, not weeks.
I would say, yeah, I would say maybe 15 weeks. I was on it for 15 weeks or something like that. Yeah, I mean, there are times where we don't. There are instances where we don't have a lot of time, but for the most part, we didn't have all the scripts from day one, but we had outlines. So we knew that the boardroom was coming. Like we knew what was coming down the road, and so we could start preparing for that and thinking about that. So and that I give Jeremy a huge amount of credit for that. For he really was able to emphasize to the producers the importance of time. And we also do a lot of camera testing on Severance of not just set dressing, but wardrobe, and the testing has to happen, and then there's time between to fix things and or correct things.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of testing as color as well, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
because, there's a lot more blue in season two. Season one is very much about the green, but I'm sure those greens and blues were really, really tested. Could you tell us about how you use color?
We really try to limit the palette to just a few tones. And we do it like the new visitation room. There's really one or two colors in the whole room. The break room is limited in palette, and anywhere we can, we limit the palette.
So if the innie world, the Lumen world, is about control and repetition, then the outie world is very different. It's a lot warmer. There's a lot more variety, a lot more texture. So
It's messier.
yeah.
It's yeah. So we also have the sense that Lumen has an impacts the outie world as well. So we see their impact everywhere. That's why for the Drippy Pot, I mean, that was a company town. So the idea that Lumen had their finger on it. Yeah, the outie world, we had a lot of fun. I mean, the episode 7, we saw a lot of, Mark and Gemma's house and McGann's college, and we see a lot of the outie world.
Yeah, so coming back to Mark and Gemma's house, so I mean, you do see a lot of it, but it's a lot of flashbacks, and they're quite quick, aren't they?
Mhm.
So there's lots of books everywhere, obviously, for their studies and their academia, and lots of plants, and suddenly you're in this kind of warm, lovely environment. But there's lots of quick shots there, aren't there, where you're just getting
Mhm.
snippets, and I love the fact that you can build this narrative just through snippets of a house.
Yeah, I mean, that was the time lapse, stuff in that house is so great. From I just make the house. I create the environment. I don't Yeah, I knew the time lapse stuff was going to happen, but I didn't really think about it that much when I dressed it. I wanted to create this complete environment, and then hand it over to, the director, and in this case it was Jessica Gagne, who such a great job with episode 7. And I want to give her a lot of things to discover, so she has things to play with. Um, and so we spent a lot of time on detail, like in their house, and also in Gemma's office, like the books, for instance. They're all the right books. Like we spent a lot of time in Gemma's office. She teaches Russian literature. We reached out to a lot of retiring Russian professors of Russian literature, and we bought their libraries. You don't see it. I mean, you might catch it for a second on camera. I don't know what you're going to see necessarily, and I don't want the camera catching the wrong book, but I also want the actor to feel like they're in the real place. So we did the same thing, Mark and Gemma's house. A lot of books are related to world history and World War One. For Mark's side of the room, and for Gemma's, it's more, more Russian literature. Those details are really, really important to what I do as a decorator.
Yeah, and then sort of Devon and Rickon's house. I guess you had to recreate it all over again for season two, and that's just full of some beautiful pieces.
Totally, that's a total recreation of the season one set. Some of the pieces I think they had rented for season one and they weren't available, so we had to spend quite a bit of time sourcing them. I try to buy most of our dressing for that very reason, because sets come back and it just gives us a little more freedom.
There's one set I've just realised that I wanted to talk to you about that we haven't touched on is the Egan Mansion. That incredible, almost museum-like room. I mean, there's some incredible pieces of design in there. Could you talk us through how and why you chose some of those pieces?
We looked at I said, Jeremy and Ben, and they scouted a lot of houses, and there was a lot of ideas about what that should be. And Jeremy was really pushing for the look that we ended up with. That house is it could not be any more perfect. You don't see it so much on camera, but a lot of it is subterranean, much like Lumon. I mean, it's as if they built a house, that would be it. We carpeted the whole house in white carpet because we wanted it to blend into the snow for the exteriors. And then I just wanted it to be strange and odd and things that we haven't seen before, and just like not expected. Like, it's not what you would think the old Egan mansion would be. So how can we make it unexpected? And it kind of start with the John Pomp rift table, was one of the first things we saw found for it. And the table is it's incredible because it's thicker chunk of glass, and the glass, it looks like ice.
Hmm.
So it just totally made sense to have this, big slab of ice in the middle of this, white snowy carpet.
And then the plate.
The plate, yeah. So I get involved in everybody's business, like especially the prop department, and it was important that the dinnerware tied in or aesthetically with what we were doing. So I had my team shop for the plate, and we found that plate. I think it's something 1848 or 1878. And it was part of a much bigger set. Each of the plates had a different center pattern. So I found the plate. I showed it to the director. She fell in love with it. She said, "We got to use it. It's just so perfect." I mean, it was perfect in color. It was perfect in theme, and I think it was perfect in the date, because we found in the Lumon lore, there's a date when they came together. It must have been 1848, and whatever it was, the plate was from the same year. And then our prop department was like, "Oh, we can't use it. There's only one. And, we need 15 of them." I'm like, in case something breaks, or in case they need to, they want to switch out food, and the director's like, "No, we'll make it work. We'll make it work with one." And so there's a lot of discussion about it. And ultimately we figured out how to make more of them. So we made more. We ended up only using one. But yeah, I love that plate. It's actually my shot on Instagram, my logo. Or
Oh, is it?
yeah.
With or without the
It's just the plate. It's
no
just
egg.
the plate.
No
Yeah,
eggs.
yeah. No egg.
It's got two people, hasn't it? And somebody in the middle. Like,
Three there. Yeah, there's like a child being pulled away in the middle. There's also a pair of little goat figures that I don't know if you see them on camera or not, but like I think they're just figures. I don't think they do anything. They might be salt and pepper shakers. I can't remember. But
yeah, but again, sort of adds to the whole eeriness of it all, because all those pieces in
yeah,
that room are very beautiful, but put them all together and it feels very sort of like a very odd, eccentric, rich person's house
yeah,
that you've never been to.
exactly. That was the idea. And then tonally, everything is kind of the same. The plate, has a blue cast to it, which ties into the coldness of the carpeting and the table. And again, the palette really helps keeps things kind of toned down and connected.
Yeah, and then by contrast, the birthing cabin, which is this very warm wooden place. I mean, you couldn't get two more different feelings. And I hadn't actually realized how different each and every set is till I went back and started doing my research again. I was thinking, God, there are so many different types of sets here. So,
So season one, there was a birthing cabin in season one, and if you went to the location, they shot it on location. And if you went to the location, there's a large house there that they did not shoot in. I think they maybe we see it, I don't remember, but we never go inside of it. So our birthing cabin we built on stage, but it is that same building. The idea was it was from an earlier time in the Lumon story. So it's a beautiful building. And just like as I said earlier, like one of the things I do is I'll just go to a vendor, or I'll go to a warehouse, or go to a store, and I'll just start wandering around and early in the process. And when I was doing that, I saw all this furniture from this company called Cushman, and it just stuck with me, and I loved it. I've never seen anything like it. It was 1930s, 20s, 30s. And it was kind of it was a version of Adirondack furniture in a way, or
mhm,
lodge furniture, but
mhm.
it was just designed beautifully and weird. And this particular vendor had been collecting it and had hundreds of pieces of it. And I'm like, I got to use this somewhere. So when the birthing cabin came back around, when it came around, I'm like, that was in my head. I'm like, got to use it. So everything, all the furniture in there is Cushman. Um, and then the fireplace, like we knew we wanted a big fireplace in there, and for the when I'm thinking about all the fireplace hardware, the andirons, I wanted something figural, and we came up with the idea of making statues of Keir Egan, and then we're like, well, maybe it'll just be Keir Egan and his wife, and these ideas are floating around, and then we reached out to Dan Erickson, the writer, to get his input, and he's like, yeah, they both should be pregnant. So Kira Egan is pregnant with Industry. And I love those. It's one of my favorite things we did. We have a guy Panko, who's our in-house sculptor. He's a genius, and to have that kind of resource that I can just go to him, and have him make something like this is incredible.
Details just build this such odd narrative that's really got under people's skin. So, including mine. In fact, I feel so much attached to this series that everybody I speak to, I'm saying, have you seen Severance? Just assuming they have. So yeah, I'm like, it's worth every penny of the Apple
It
TV
it
subscription.
it is, yeah, it is. It's a great show, and I mean, I'm a fan. I love season one, and I was happy that I was able to join for season two.
So you mentioned there you buy a lot of the pieces. So what happens to them afterwards?
We save the bulk of it. It's all in a warehouse, secret warehouse,
Yeah, sure.
for waiting for season three. At the end of season two, we did have a sale of stuff that I sold off stuff from season one that I know I wouldn't use, that was never seen. And I sold off things, we talked to the producers about what sets would not be coming back. So we sold off things just because we don't have that much room to store things. But for the most part, we keep it all, and it's waiting for whatever's next.
How did you become a set decorator? What was your route into the world of film?
Well, like so many people in the industry, I kind of stumbled into it. I studied art history in college, and I also studied photography. And then when I finished, I didn't want to go to grad school in art history. I just didn't want to spend another 6 years in school. And then after that, I just didn't imagine myself doing that. And so I was wandering a little bit. Friends kept saying I should work in film because of my background in photography. And it was interesting, but I wasn't passionate about it. But I applied to grad school in film. I didn't get in. And then I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll get a job on a movie. I was living in New Orleans at the time. There was a lot of movies being made there. I'll get a job and I'll reapply. So I got a job as a production assistant on the Coen Brothers movie Miller's Crossing,
Oh, nice
which
start.
probably the best. Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't get better than that. And that was it. I just started working in film. I started as a production assistant in special effects, and then I think I was a set PA. Then I worked in props, and then I worked in set dressing. And then it kind of came together for me. I'm like, this all makes sense, especially studying art history. It really related to what I was doing, and I loved it. I fell into the trap of loving the movie business, and so that was my start. I was on a project, lead person, and the designer and the decorator got into a big fight, and he fired the decorator and
Mm.
said, "You're the decorator now." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Uh, but it was good. It threw me into it, and I realized I had it. The one thing I remember from that experience is realize I have to make decisions and choices. And as I said earlier, everything is a choice. And okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make choices, and we'll see what happens.
So, what have you been working on since?
Well, after almost immediately after Severance wrapped, Jeremy works with Catherine Bigelow quite a bit. So we jumped onto House of Dynamite. Very different, but fantastic. I can't wait for people to see it. I'm super proud of the work we did. Very realistic, based on a lot of secret and top secret places. So for me, it's the same process as Severance. I mean, I start with a lot of research, and then I take that, I build a foundation, and then we build from there. So I finished that up, and then it's been kind of a quiet year. I started a movie that I was on, that ended up the studio pulled the plug on it. So and now I'm waiting to see what's next. I have a few things that I'm talking to, and hopefully this week or next week I'll be jumping on something else.
So, just to finalize this amazing chat, all the details have been really fascinating. But if you could take one thing home from the Severance set, what would it be? Or have you got it already?
I don't know. That's such a hard question. I love the duck rabbit sculpture in Milchek's desk, behind his desk. So that would probably be that. Yeah.
Amazing.
There's a famous optical illusion, and when you look at it, it's a drawing, and you can't tell. You look at it one way, it's a duck, and you look at it another way, it's a rabbit.
Got it.
So that duality of
Got it.
not really knowing which way.
Well, it's been so fascinating to talk through Severance. Thank you, David, and congratulations once again. It really is next level work, and it tells such a fabulous story. So yes, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for being interested in the work and sharing it with your viewers.
I hope you enjoyed that insightful chat. You can take a look at our in-depth feature and film set images at filmandfurniture.com, where you'll find many fascinating articles on interiors, furniture, decor and lighting in film, as well as where to find these items for your own home. That's all in our marketplace. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.